Hi everyone, it's Cass. Welcome back to my channel, What Cass Read. Today I am bringing you my spoiler-free review of Elantris, written by Brandon Sanderson. Elantris was actually Brandon Sanderson's very first published novel. He published it back in 2005. This is considered one of his books in the Cosmere universe, and this is also, as of now, a current standalone fantasy novel. This book is about the capital city of Elantris in Arelon, in this world called Arelon. And 10 years before the start of this book, Elantris used to be the city of magic and beauty and light, because this magic called the Shroud ran the city, and it affected various people. It would affect them at random, and it would turn them into these demigod creatures. And once they were tapped by the Shroud and became these demigod creatures, they moved into the city of Elantris, where it was really treated as this wonderful capital city in the midst of this country. Some cataclysmic event happened that caused the magic to turn sour. The magic broke for some reason, and it affected the city of Elantris, where the city of Elantris began to rot from the inside out. These demigod Elantrians also began to die. They were no longer these beautiful, majestic demigod creatures, but they started rotting from the inside out as well. And no one really knew why, but the city of Elantris then became this closed-off place where now if you were affected by the Shroud, then you were shunned to the city of Elantris, and this new capital city of K sprung up in its place. In this book, there are three main characters that we're following, and I'll get to those in a little bit, but the three main characters all have some type of relationship to the city of K, have some type of relationship to this Shroud magic, and are also, underneath it all, they're trying to figure out exactly what happened to the magic of Elantris and what is currently happening to the people of K. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the world building. This is a standalone Sanderson at its best. For the world building, there are completely different religions that are competing with one another. There is the magic system of the Shroud, but it's not overly complicated, it's not overly explained, so that way you feel lost and have to keep track and keep notes of what this whole magic system is. It doesn't greatly affect the story and the characters that much that we're seeing them utilize all of these different pieces of magic, but we know that this magic is there, and there's the whole mystery of what happened to the magic, but it's, again, not overly complicated in any particular way. The effects of the magic are what I found to be more compelling to me as a reader, because it directly affected the different characters, their different interactions with one another, and the plot as it moved forward, and we're trying to figure out what is happening to all of these characters and happening to this magic. I felt like that was the greater piece of world building that we should have paid attention to, was the effect that the magic had once it turned sour, and why did it turn sour. The descriptions of Elantris are really great, because we actually do follow one of our main characters who has been affected by the Shroud. That is Prince Rowden. He is one of our main characters. Since he has been affected by the Shroud magic and has turned into this rotting Elantrian, he is shunned into the city of Elantris, and there's so many different pieces and factions to this city that we discover through him. And then we also get some flashback scenes of when Elantris was in its glory days. So we get to see the two competing ideas of Elantris through the lens of multiple different characters and their opinion of Elantris and their opinion of what the magic meant to the whole land of Arelon. Because we get this unique perspective of like both inside and outside of Elantris, past and present Elantris, I feel like Elantris itself is a character in its own right, and that's one of the better part of the world building that I found. There's also multiple different religious orders. So we follow another character named Hrothin, who is a priest, who has been sent to K, the capital city, to try and convert everybody over to his religion. But again, it's not overly complicated, even though we're following the perspective of one of these characters who is really deep into the religion. I feel like the religious aspect builds tension into the storyline. It builds tension for an internal struggle within several characters, but it's not like we have to become acolytes to this religion to completely understand it and completely understand why it's so powerful to the storyline. And then there's also the political intrigue aspect of it. There's political tension inside this world, because once Elantris fell, a new kingdom rose in its place, and we're thrust into the middle of this political turmoil by way of another one of our main characters, Princess Serene. So again, magic, religion, and politics all interwoven, but not made overly complex, that made this a really, really enjoyable story. So I've already hinted at our main characters, but let's go ahead and talk about them. The first character that we follow is Prince Raudin. He's actually the very first chapter that we follow when he becomes affected by the Shroud. He is the prince, the first in line to the throne. He is a character that up until that point had led a very bustling life. We get to know some of his friends. We get to know through the eyes of other people his relationship that he had with his father, the king. We get to understand some of his ideologies in terms of the political turmoil and the political unrest inside the kingdom. But it all comes crashing to a head when he is affected by the Shroud and is shunned to the city of Elantris, and he starts on this new adventure. He's a really curious character. Instead of wallowing in the fact that he has been affected by this rotting magic, he really takes it upon himself to understand the why, the how of this magic, to really understand the inner workings of Elantris as he's been locked in there, because it's vastly different than what he had originally expected it to be once he found out that he was going there. He builds up this community inside Elantris. He finds friends within Elantris, and of course he is working constantly to figure out what is happening to him and what is happening to the city. We also meet Princess Serene, and she actually won one of the BookTube, one of my BookTube awards, one of my 2019 book awards for the best female lead character. There's often times where I find a princess situation where she's the only female in a large group of men. She's off on her own. Sometimes I find that I don't stand those characters, but Princess Serene was great. She is actually engaged to Prince Raudin, but as she's on her way to the capital city of Kay, he has been shunned into Elantris and nobody knows where he is. He has been said that he has died, and because of her marriage contract, even in death, she's like considered married to him, so she can't really escape the contract. So she is stuck inside this brand new city. She was expecting to meet this guy that she had been communicating with on her own, and it turns out he's dead, so like the only contact and the only ally that she thought she had moving into this new situation is gone. She also finds it like really fishy that he died, but like everybody's acting a different way, so she thinks that there's some type of conspiracy going on with Prince Raudin. She follows along with a lot of the political turmoil because she sees a kingdom in trouble. She comes from an allied kingdom, but she is allowed as a woman in court to have her own opinions, to have a say in what goes on. She was privy to what her father what the decisions that her father made, and privy to the different councils that he kept, and that is not what she encounters when she moves to Kay. So she's just navigating a new situation with more brains than pretty much anyone else on the page. She used her intelligence at exactly the right moment to get what she needed and to get what she wanted, and I really, really enjoyed her. So she won one of my book awards. I loved following her and her storyline. And then the third main character that we follow is Hrathen, who is the priest in the competing religion. He has been sent to the capital city of Kay to convert all of the heathens. We follow his take on how he views Elantris and these rotting citizens in Elantris as a tool to try and convert people to his religion. He had a really interesting relationship with Princess Serene because as they kind of danced around each other politically at court, you could see that they were trying to match wits with one another, and I really like those scenes of him. He was not so much like a comical villain. He was really having his own crisis of faith, his own crisis of identity as he's being sent into Elantris as well, being sent into this capital city of Kay, trying to figure out, does he have any allies within his church? Does he have any allies with the people and the priests who are already there? Yeah, so he just had like some really good character moments that I really enjoyed in this whole story. So overall, like I said, if this is your first Brandon Sanderson, don't listen to the naysayers saying that this isn't a good Sanderson novel, because it is great. I rated this book 5 out of 5 stars. It was one of the last books that I read for the year 2019, and it swept into my life and claimed all of these like end of the year awards because I absolutely loved it. It's not simple Sanderson, it's not simplified Sanderson, but it's not as complicated of Sanderson as you can get with some of his other stories. And what you get are some of his best moments in this book. You get magic, politics, religion, all wrapped up into one current standalone. And if you like any of those, and we get a little dash of romance too, I barely talked about that. If you like any of those things, I think you'll really, really like Elantris, because as you can see, I really, really, really like Elantris. So let me know down in the comment section below what you thought of Elantris, if you've read it, or if this is a book that you are now planning on reading. I thought it was great, thought it was magnificent, so go ahead and check it out. Feel free to discuss this book with me on any of my social medias. So I've got Instagram and Twitter at whatcassread, the same as this channel, super easy to find. My Goodreads link, that's always listed for you down below. Or if you're brand new to my channel and checking out this review, one of mine for the very first time, feel free to subscribe. I'd love to have you stick around with us. Other than that, you know how these videos end. I'll talk to you later. Bye.